Welcome to the new video. Before moving onwards, thank you for subscribing this channel. If you like the content of our channel, please like and subscribe it. And in this video, we will see the constructor examples that I had explained in the previous constructor video. So before moving onwards, please see the constructor video, then come back and see this video. If you want to see the link of constructor video, you can get it on the screen on top right. Now let's move onwards to this content. Let's take my existing example. Let's take this class animal.java. In this class, if you see, I have not mentioned any constructor here for animal class. This means that Java has already created a default constructor for animal class. The default constructor that Java has created is called upon the creation of object of this class. So when animal.tommy is equal to new animal is called, the object Tommy is created, and once Tommy is created, the constructor of animal class is called. Here the default constructor that Java creates is something like this: public animal. As I told you that the name of the constructor needs to be exactly same like name of the class, and there shouldn't be any return type for the constructor. So this is the default constructor created by Java. In the debug mode, I will put few breakpoints here, and then we can see how the call goes inside constructor. So I will run this code and let's see how it works. So the call first comes on the creation of first object. When this object is getting created by using new operator, the call will go to the constructor. So the call, as expected, the call is going to the constructor. The call will go again to the next object, and again it should go to the constructor. So this is as expected. And now, since we do not have any more further debug points here, the call should come out and the result should be printed on my screen. So this is how the result gets printed, and the constructor is called when the object is being created. Now let's take another example where I am using no argument constructor. Here this animal is a default constructor. If I make it no argument constructor, I can initialize the value inside this constructor. So I can just take a private integer x, and then I can initialize some values to this integer. So this is a no argument constructor, and then I can just try to print the value of x. So here the value of my integer x is printed as 5. So this is the example of no argument constructor. Now let's take a value, let's take an example of parameterized constructor in Java. For this example, we do not need all this lines, and let's take just one object for now. Let me remove all these unnecessary statements. Okay. So this is the example of my no argument constructor, and now I'm going to show an example of my parameterized constructor. So in parameterized constructor, you can pass some parameters while creating the object of the class. So I'm passing here number 5. Let me give number 10 here, and then once this object is being created, it will look for a constructor with a integer inside as a parameter. So let me just make this constructor as a parameterized constructor, and once the call comes here, the call will again go to this constructor, and inside this constructor I can initialize my variable x to the value y. So let me just save this and run it. In this example, you will see the value that is passed as a parameter to the object creation is initialized to the variable x. To print the value of y here, let me just give sorry, this should be not class, no, object name, and I saved the animal.java class. But before executing animal.java class, I have another class, cat.java, which is extending animal.java. In my previous example I had given these examples, so since I'm trying to show the demonstration on the same example, that's why I'm using the same examples, so that you can link both the videos and then you can have a better understanding of the examples. uh, just to execute this program, I'll have to remove this content here because it's showing me error. So now it is error free. Let me come back to my animal.java class, and now I will execute it. So the parameter that I passed has gone into the variable x, and then x is printed. So before viewing this video, you must see the video on the constructors that I had given, and all these examples are taken from that constructor video. So you will not be having a better understanding unless and until you have watched the constructor video. So now let's move on to the next example, and that is constructor chaining. For constructor chaining, you can have this method and super method. Both these methods are used inside the constructor to call another constructor. So this method is used to call the constructors in the same class. So if I have a default constructor here, like public animal, this is my default constructor, and if I'm using this 5 inside this, default, let me just give this first constructor called first constructor called, and then since this is this 5, so this 5 is having is going to call a constructor which is having parameter as integer, one integer, so it will call this constructor from the default constructor. And here I will print second constructor call. So when the object is created, first call will go to the first constructor, and in this constructor the call will be invoked and the second constructor will be chained. So I will just try to print this first. So second constructor is called, and then value of second constructor parameter here, so that the default constructor is called and not the parameterized constructor. So when I execute this program, first the call will come here, then it will come here, and then last line will be printed. So I will just give debug points here so that you can see how the calls are going on. So let me show you how it works. So first call comes to object creation, then call goes to first constructor. Since this keyword is used, call will go to the second constructor, and then it will print this second constructor called. Now call will come back to the first constructor, and then again come back to the void main method. So all these 3 lines are printed in that sequence. So now let's take the example of super method, and super method is used to do in constructor chaining when subclass and superclass comes into picture, is that when inheritance comes into picture. So I have animal class already existing here, and the cat class extends animal class. I'm removing this method now. Even this is not required at this moment. So I have a constructor for cat class, and inside this cat class I will call another constructor, that is super, and print a statement here, cat constructor called. Save it. Now I will call animal object and I will use reference of cat class here. Call end. Let's see how this works. First, the main method will have object created of cat class. The call will go to the cat class constructor, but since I have super method here, the call will call the subclass constructor, that is animal class constructor. So let's see, let's put a debug point here and a debug point here and one on the call of creation of constructor. So I will execute it in debug mode. So this is cat class constructor calling. Super is called, goes to super class constructor. This is used, so goes to parameterized constructor. First statement printing, second statement printing, and call will come back to the main method of subclass. So the last statement printing. So please go to these videos, but before viewing this video you must see the constructor video, and after that you should see this video and you will have all the better understanding of constructors. So please stay tuned for the next video upcoming in this series of Java course.